Few people suspect that behind every wooden object in their home, there's an entire universe of drama, innovation, and whispered rumors. From sleek plywood panels to finely carved bamboo utensils, the journey from living tree to finished product is more riveting than you might ever guess. Some say the biggest shift in wood's history isn't a quiet craft. It's a bustling, risk-laden enterprise shaping how we live. Not everyone realizes that the quiet forests supplying the global wood market hide tales of both legitimate harvesting and darker rumors. In some regions, communities notice logging trucks rolling out at odd hours, carrying away centuries-old trees that might never regrow in our lifetime. Officials claim these logs come from perfectly legal sources, but accusations have surfaced suggesting that some paper pushers turn a blind eye when the price is right. Meanwhile, families who have thrived on forest resources for generations whisper about being priced out by those same corporate giants. On the other hand, honest local teams boast of carefully planned replanting initiatives that restore as much forest as they take, eager to prove that profitable logging doesn't have to end in devastation. Whichever side you believe, the question remains, can the planet keep up with this relentless demand? Hauling colossal trunks to a mill is just the start. The real wonder unfolds in towering sawmills, massive processing lines, and specialized workshops hidden away from bustling cities. Step onto one of these factory floors and you'll see logs clamped tight by mechanical jaws that slice them into neat blocks, sending scraps hurtling into chippers. High-speed saws guide freshly cut wood into perfect dimensions, while overhead cranes glide silently above the clang of machinery. Skilled operators watch for the slightest jam or mechanical hiccup, ready to halt the entire operation at the first sign of danger. It's a high-stakes ballet between man and metal, sometimes leaving visitors breathless. But that isn't even the most delicate step. Turning those rough-cut planks into finished items requires a whole new level of precision, especially when each piece must be as uniform as possible. In sleek factories, automated arms layer thin sheets of veneer, pressing them into plywood under immense heat and pressure. Those near-perfect boards become the skeleton of drum shells, the base for stylish furniture, or the body of eco-friendly utensils. Elsewhere, artisans in small workshops shape bowls from green wood, forging their masterpieces by hand, using the wood's natural moisture to guide every curve. Rumors abound that in certain places, unscrupulous shops might skip crucial safety steps to meet quotas, risking not just quality, but the workers' well-being. There's another side to this fast-moving world, the heated debate over sustainability. Environmental advocates argue that reckless deforestation irreparably harms wildlife habitats and accelerates climate challenges. Yet many companies claim they've embraced reforestation projects, following global guidelines and planting more trees than they harvest. Critics, however, raise concerns about paper forests, where fast-growing trees are planted in strict rows, but fail to recreate the lost biodiversity of ancient woodlands. Some brand this practice as greenwashing, suggesting it's more about optics than genuine restoration. With rumors of falsified certificates and questionable chains of custody for imported logs, the tension around who's telling the truth only grows. But controversies often go hand in hand with opportunity. As consumer awareness of environmental issues expands, a wave of eco-friendly products has exploded onto the scene. Bamboo, hailed as a miracle plant due to its rapid growth, is turning up in everything from sunglasses to coffee stirrers. Manufacturers market them as a perfect choice for those who want style without guilt. Still, a handful of critics voice suspicions. Is all that bamboo truly sustainable? Or do some factories quietly rely on synthetic resins and chemical-laden processes? If you dig deeply enough, you'll find speculation that certain producers mask harmful glues beneath the eco-friendly label, all to keep pace with soaring demand. Behind these sprawling industries are real people with real stories. Talk to a worker and you'll hear tales of harsh hours, fleeting triumphs, and the uneasy dance between tradition and modern tech. A longtime saw operator might recall the nerve-wracking thrill of guiding a whirring blade just a fraction of an inch from a flaw in the log. A forest ranger who once worked for a multinational timber outfit might share hushed complaints about pressure from bosses to overlook questionable cutting permits. Meanwhile, an entrepreneur in Southeastern Asia might beam with pride over developing a new process that transforms leftover sawdust into high-density fuel pellets, claiming it eliminates waste entirely. Each individual is a piece of a massive puzzle, their fates intertwined with the global appetite for wood. Slip into the labyrinth of shipping ports and distribution centers, and you'll see how complicated this network really is. Fleets of cargo ships hauling container after container of cut logs and finished products set sail daily to meet a rising global appetite. Some suppliers prattle on about advanced logistics systems that let them track shipments from forest to storefront, guaranteeing authenticity and sustainability. Others grumble about the occasional unscrupulous trader who fudges paperwork, blending ethically sourced timber with questionable loads to meet contractual deadlines and inflate profit. Even industry insiders admit it's almost impossible for ordinary consumers to trace the real backstory of a wooden bowl sitting on a store shelf. One striking shift in recent years is the new wave of manufacturing systems harnessing advanced robotics, reducing the margin of error while accelerating production times. Automated planers cut boards with laser-guided precision, even adjusting on the fly if the wood's density fluctuates. In high-end workshops, they talk about machine learning algorithms that can spot internal knots or cracks by analyzing the wood's natural grain patterns. All this technology ensures that large factories crank out massive volumes of uniform products with minimal waste. Old-school artisans fear that an over-reliance on tech will numb the soul of the craft. Meanwhile, big companies argue that mass-produced goods satisfy global demand more responsibly, as advanced quality control reduces rejects and byproducts. At the same time, smaller studios and independent crafters are forging reputations by championing local, ethically sourced wood. Some are outspoken critics of large-scale mills, warning that they can devastate entire forest ecosystems in a matter of weeks. The debate over scale is alive and well. Do we need countless small, specialized artisans or a handful of large producers with the resources to manage sustainable plantations? Each claim begs further questions. Which approach is best for the environment, for local communities, and for the final quality of the product? Each side tells a compelling story, and the answers aren't always simple. Step into certain corners of the industry, and you'll find exotic ventures that thrive on living edge or green turning methods, which emphasize capturing the tree's inherent quirks. Bowls or furnishings made this way can warp and twist in unexpected ways, but that spontaneity is precisely the draw for collectors. There's a rumor that a niche workshop in rural Japan once made a series of carved vessels so compelling that major museums scrambled to snatch them up for display. Enthusiasts treat these pieces like fine art, believing that each swirling grain and subtle crack reveals the tree's life story. Others see them as novelties destined to warp beyond use. Either way, this fascination with the natural essence of wood has led to a profitable, some might say elite, market sector. But that wasn't the whole story. Even the seemingly minor byproducts and offcuts have their own surprising significance. Those leftover wood chips and sawdust can be pressed into particle board, turned into clean-burning fuel pellets, or even reprocessed into pulp for paper. Some manufacturers brag about nearly zero waste, converting every scrap into something profitable. Yet rumors occasionally swirl around less scrupulous operations that dump wet sawdust into local waterways, or burn mountains of scraps in open pits late at night to sidestep disposal fees. Environmental watchdogs keep an eye out, but the reality is that many hidden practices go unnoticed until a whistleblower speaks up or a journalist stumbles upon incriminating evidence. Speculations also swirl about the future of wood manufacturing. With advanced genetic engineering, certain firms now experiment with fast-growing hybrid trees capable of reaching maturity in half the time. Corporate spokespeople claim it's a game-changer for sustainable supply. Skeptics counter that these genetically altered trees might disrupt local ecosystems or result in weaker wood that won't hold up over decades. Meanwhile, unexpected competitor materials, like mushroom-based composites and recycled plastic lumber blends, are gaining popularity with consumers who crave anything labeled green or renewable. Traditional mills face new pressures to adapt or risk losing market share to emergent alternatives. That competition extends to global politics too. International trade agreements can strengthen or stifle certain regions' capacity to export. A rumor out of Southeast Asia suggests that a new wave of tariffs might heavily impact smaller mills, driving them to close or merge with bigger, foreign-owned conglomerates. Insiders speculate that it's not just about import duties, but also about controlling the precious flow of exotic hardwoods. Some economists predict that if these policies pass, we'll see a seismic shift in global supply chains, with new countries taking the lead in specialized wood goods. For local communities that rely on the industry, the stakes could not be higher. For anyone willing to look past the showroom floor and glossy online listings, there's a dynamic world in flux. One moment, you're marveling at high-end, machine-crafted furniture with laser-straight lines. The next, you're discovering hand-turned bowls with wavy edges that reflect the artisan's spontaneous dance with the natural shape of the log. Demand for wooden products continues to climb, from giant logs fueling construction booms to petite chopsticks at your neighborhood restaurant. It's a testament to wood's timeless appeal, and a reminder that behind every piece is an ever-evolving story of resource extraction, cutting-edge machines, craftspeople, and heated debates. How this multi-layered industry will resolve its challenges is anyone's guess. Perhaps stricter guidelines, advanced tracking technology, and a global shift in consumer priorities will ensure that every log is ethically sourced and expertly crafted. Or maybe unscrupulous operations will find ways to skirt regulations, overshadowing well-intentioned efforts. For every bright success story, like the zero-waste bamboo workshop or the reforestation project boasting record tree growth, there's a nagging doubt about greenwashing campaigns and manipulated paperwork. It's a puzzle that can leave you wondering whose narratives to trust. Standing on the cusp of tomorrow, wood manufacturing could evolve into a shining model of sustainability, or it might stay cloaked in partial truths. Whichever outcome prevails, one fact is certain. Our global appetite for wood shows no signs of slowing down. In that reality, these factories and forests become a landscape where human ingenuity meets nature's grandeur. As investors, consumers, and policymakers peer into this world, they face the choice of championing transparent, responsible growth, or settling for convenient illusions and half measures. The final shape of things remains to be seen. Even if answers aren't clear, curiosity about this industry continues to grow. People who once saw timber as a boring commodity now view it as a gateway to deeper questions about conservation, tradition, and modern living. Every piece of furniture or wooden utensil you own has a backstory. Maybe it emerged from a proud, well-managed family mill, or from a frantic production line cutting corners behind closed doors. That uncertainty can feel daunting, but it also creates the opportunity for each of us to question where and how we source our products. Whether you're drawn by the allure of handcrafted artistry or intrigued by the scale of factory operations, there's a sense that wood is more than just a building material. It's a narrative, shaped by the forces of commerce, culture, and environment. Will the future see labs churning out synthetic wood perfected by 3D printers, or will we learn to better cherish and cultivate our forests? Powerful figures in business and politics seem split on the answer, and the tug-of-war shows no sign of letting up. Meanwhile, everyday people continue to buy, create, and admire what might be humanity's oldest natural resource. No matter where you stand, it's impossible to ignore the impact that wood manufacturing has on our planet and our daily lives. Some see it as a chance to champion a product that, when responsibly harvested, can replenish itself naturally. Others worry that no matter how sustainable it seems, the scale of demand is too great and will accelerate global deforestation. And in these times of environmental uncertainty, that matters more than ever. By the time this industry's next chapter unfolds, we might witness surprising alliances between green activists and forward-thinking timber corporations. Or possibly, we'll see an explosion of scandal if hidden deals and unregulated practices come to light. The only certainty is that wood, so often taken for granted, has become a battleground of modern ambitions and ancient resources. If you've never given it much thought, consider this your invitation to look closer. To ask hard questions about who profits from every polished board and carved handle. One thing is clear, The transformations taking place in these forests and factories have the power to reshape local economies and entire ecosystems. After all, entire families in remote regions might rely on small-scale mills for their livelihoods, while urban skyscrapers might incorporate advanced engineered wood beams to reduce carbon footprints. The stakes are immense, and the narrative keeps unfolding. In the end, you hold more influence than you might think. Every time you shop for something made of wood, furniture, utensils, building materials, you choose which type of story you're funding. Will you settle for cheap mystery origins, or seek out suppliers boasting clear, certified supply chains? It's not a simple question, and real solutions involve a lot of back and forth among producers, environmental watchdogs, and everyday citizens. But as the appetite for wood keeps growing, so does the need for honest voices and informed choices. The next time you run your hand across a smooth wooden surface, consider how it got there. Think of the forest where that tree once stood, the machines or hands that shaped it, and the quiet or controversial path it took to end up in your world. For better or worse, wood manufacturing influences the fate of countless communities and ecosystems. Perhaps, someday soon, we'll either celebrate it as a fully sustainable endeavor or lament it as one more cautionary tale of resource exploitation. Until then, it remains up to us to watch, to learn, and to decide what kind of future we're fueling each time we admire a fine grain or reach for that sturdy cutting board in the kitchen.